So this was one of my best years by far, almost 100,000 just in the Robinhood account from RSW swings alone. In this video, we're going to break down some of the top opportunities of the year, including some of those swings. I think a lot of people are just missing in the review process, breaking down what were the best trades month by month. And that's a really good best practice to do every year and every month, just looking at these top trades and review them in detail and just take really good notes and review what you could have done better, how you could have captured it, and essentially write up the trade. So we go over that in this video with some of the members in our Discord, and they ask some really good questions. So let's dive right into it. So I think we'll go month by month, and I'll discuss what I thought were the top ops. And Demo, we could like discuss them together. Starting with January, I think the biggest theme coming into the year was if quote unquote AI is real. And after this earnings release, like we had in Nvidia like the talk of AI up into this run up, but we really crushed this earnings report right here. And people were questioning AI if it's a bubble, this and that. We were kind of consolidating for like months on the daily chart, and we got some news here past. I think split adjusted was it 500? I'm pretty sure it was 500. This daily breakout here. I think to start the year, this was probably the top opportunity to swing trade this. Not only the volume was really good, but just breaking out of this massive daily base with a hot theme is how market leaders get formed, essentially. We want to, be involved in these daily breakouts as much as we can, especially if it's a top leading theme. Um, What else? I really like that we're pretty tight on the daily with having lower highs. I mean higher lows each time. We get super tight on that daily chart, and you can just see the volume there. So intraday, I think it's quite simple. Once you see that volume coming in, you just get long versus the previous 1 to 5 minute bar. We're looking at this. Yeah, this was a spot right here. Like this was really insane volume. We have a catalyst as well. I believe it was Nvidia to launch their China-focused AI chip, and they also had a GeForce RTX graphics card that they announced, right?
Mhm.
So
I
we just
remember this shit, bro. You slammed this shit.
yes, I slammed this really hard.
Pretty sure you made like what, like 20K that day? Like you made a shit ton of money this day.
An SMB account, it was maybe like 3 to 4 stops, and with my personal, I don't remember. I gotta go see.
I just remember it was a fuck ton. Like
Yeah,
you really fucking. I remember this was like a hype day.
yeah, but not only that, I'm like swinging a lot of that in the form of options for like a daily swing, and I really piked my swing. But I think you could take this into here. I like this retest also into I don't know what the split adjusted price was, but there was a few spots, and it was to me I thought it was pretty clear that this was just going to be a very clear swing trade. Another trade that I think is really good in bull markets is taking these RSW swings. So at the close, just adding to the position versus like 2 day VWAP is typically not a bad trade or continuation. So we get small gap up and continuation the next day, and like honestly, the rest is history. Like you could just trail with a close below the previous daily bar. And a lot of people at the firm also slammed this because Nvidia was just so in play at the time with AI being all hyped up. So this was just the first leg of the breakout. I believe I got flat somewhere into here. And maybe there was another breakout here that I took, but a lot of these strong closes, like I would just RSW pretty much. Like this one here I took, I remember. I might have taken this one, that being a losing trade, but the RSWs for this and the swing trade was pretty much A plus for this. No question about that. Is there anything that we could add for this? The only thing that I would say is in an uptrend to take back and forth trades on the long side on fast moves down on the open. Those are also really great trades, and you could honestly set yourself up for a very big trade there. And then in sympathy, we also had the SMCI breakout above. I forgot what the split adjusted price was, but pretty similar thing. Like AI is a massive theme, consolidating for months, and we get that breakout above the all-time highs on a news catalyst. I believe we had what was it that day? Raised guidances. So they really crushed it with their preliminary earnings report into here. And off the open, I think you could have got the first move down or just a simple breakout above 35.70. And you could just see the massive volume that we had right off the open. That should be a big sign that we're sort of breaking out. We also get the second leg. And like always, for big continuation plays, we want to be swinging overnight for this gap up here. So I thought that was really A plus as well. And you could just swing against the prior daily bar, which would have worked really nicely. And like if you're swing trading this, I think I piked my swing trade pretty early, probably the second day. And actually, I don't think I swung into earnings. That's what it was. I got flat into earnings like this day here. But typically, like I don't know, it's tough. Like if this gaps down off earnings, you don't really want to be caught in that for swing trade, but you know, maybe there's just opportunities to get right back involved after earnings for multiple legs. And like we talked about with Nvidia, I think there's multiple dip buys that you could have from having a fast move down. Um, what do you think about that, Demo, for the back and forth stuff? Like, would you try to buy these on the daily? I think it's not too bad to do. And then we're going to talk about in February this trade here, but other than that, I thought what else for January was good? Save 116. That was what is going on here? Save. Oh, I guess they delisted Save Q now. January 16th. So this was a big breaking news trade. When you see the headline there, for I believe it was a bankruptcy headline. I got to double check, but this save was really in play, and with such a what is it called? Yeah, I think this is just a simple breaking news trade. If you could catch this limit down, you just got to be ready
Yeah,
for it.
this was the not the bankruptcy, but this was the merger failing, I believe, right? Or
I
was it
think
the other
one
way
of them.
around?
I think one of them was. I believe that they were going to go bankrupt, so JetBlue was going to acquire them. Let me see,
Yeah,
and then that
yeah, that's
failed,
exactly. Yep. Yeah,
or
that sounds about right.
something like that. But yeah, another A plus breaking news trade, and eventually this just goes bankrupt because we have corrupt administration that didn't let them merge with JetBlue. So now Spirit is just bankrupt. So nice job there, U.S. government. That's good. For February, NVTA on February 5th. So this was another breaking news trade with bankruptcy, I believe. I think you could also get the second leg. Bankruptcy headlines typically are good if you're quick, and there is room for you to get involved. So I would study both Save and NVTA. You could get into this really early, and it ended up delisting to zero. So you just collect the premium there. So that was a pretty big one. MOR. Is it this day here? Yeah. So this MOR, this was in late stage talks to acquire a drug developer. So I think it was Lilly that wanted to acquire this. Another really big M&A headline. I think we're gonna get more of these as when Trump is president. So I would really watch out for stuff like this, where you get really big M&As. And you don't need to see this headline right away. There's still tons of opportunity to get involved here, as well as like second legs. So I would just keep those in mind. I'm looking at the fucking German one. Jesus. I think it delisted also, or they got acquired. That's why. But yeah, that's a really big trade that you could take there. Uh, I know Demo's gonna like this one. This ARM in the beginning of February was A plus. Multiple trades that you could have taken here.
Yeah,
So
this was so gas.
yeah. So AI is a really hot theme at this point. We have Nvidia breaking out, SMCI breaking out, and this ARM is another semiconductor that is going to benefit from this AI type of move. And it's so important to keep an eye on hot themes that emerge. That's almost as important as the setup, right? So we got tons of volatility out of this name on the earnings. I thought like this was absolutely crazy move for a large cap stock, but nonetheless, we had such a large gap out of an earnings base. Uh, I think you could take this for a long type of breakout trade intraday versus the lows, as this volume is just out of this world. But you know, if you don't really want to buy a stock that's up 45%, that's fine. This first move down off the open I thought was really good. And this next day, we get a really nice breakout at above the earnings day high right here, which also aligns intraday. Like you get this really nice flag here where you could take the breakout with tight risk. And then after that, like this is just an A plus breakout here. And not only that, it gets so parabolic that these are like really good shorts as well for like a backside capitulation trade.
Yeah, those shorts we nailed. I remember. It's kind of like hard to see it when you're looking back in time like this, but during the day, it just seems so obvious. Like you could just tell by the price action. It's like a crazy thing. I wish we would have. Did we record that session by any chance?
We probably have it.
We,
I gotta look back, but when I
yeah,
do
that
my
would be a
full
crazy
review,
session.
yeah.
Yeah.
But for my trading, right, like I'm just taking this breakout as a momentum trade, and like this gets so fast, like I'm selling it to here. Like I remember that being a massive day for me as well. But
Hmm.
these turn candles, like these are just A plus to short. Like we're up on all time frames, like an insane percentage amount, and then this is like just a 23% move with like accelerated ranges. Like when we talk about like parabolic moves, right? You definitely want to see those speed ups, right? And that like last leg there was just straight up. And then you even get a second one here to short.
That one's even more straight up. Like that one's
Yeah.
just vertical, actually.
I mean, yeah, you're just getting like, what is this? Like 8 point candles, 1 minute candles. Like that's just crazy.
Yeah.
Um, so I think you could either scale into a short there or just look for a right side of the V. Like this is all tape reading. So I would study this day. Maybe we'll try to, me and Dima will go back and try to find the tape for this day. So that is ARM. What else do we got? For my small cap traders, I like this HOLO. This was a previous liquidator, Chinese liquidator. And the overnight trades for this have been really good. And you could just notice the volume there. Like this was a massive short squeeze that day. And what I like to do on small caps that do this is literally just buy Now it's like split adjusted, but at the time it was very small. I want to say like it was pennies. Like let me double check. Just kidding. It was 28 bucks. But yeah, this overnight trade slash after hours breakout was like pretty good. You even have like one leg over here, like it just gaps up. Really small float, and these are just like short squeeze type of playbook trades that you could take. This flag break into here, and then also this limit up into close. Like you should buy this versus the lows here, the next limit down, because after hours you could get a squeeze like this. The key for this type of trade is small float, very small dilution risk, and just insane float rotations. Like this is just crazy amount of volume for the float. Let me see back in my notes. They called themselves a semiconductor stock at the time. They always change what they are. But with AI being hot and this being such a small float, you could get squeezes like this into the close, which are hundreds of percent. And then the next day, that's just like a good short. But super volatile. I would study a few of these before you take them because they could be really high risk. But that was a pretty obvious one for me. What else do we got? And then the golden short, SMCI. I think this is in contender with one of the best trades of the year, maybe. Um, but in terms of daily exhaustion gaps, right? We like to take these, especially if there's a hot theme in play. Like recently, we took MSTR with the Bitcoin theme. This is just the AI slash semiconductor version of that, right? So we break out above this 36, which is just like a normal breakout, right? We have earnings, right? In terms of speed of the move, like you could see that our ATR in days like goes down, which means that we're basically like building average daily range. We're like not overextended at all this entire run up until this point, right? For parabolic shorts, like you want to see um, those daily highs start to speed up, and these last 3 days just become like super A plus in terms of a short. You could see that with this ATR oscillator, like it goes down the entire time except into here where it starts to speed up, and that's what you really want to see. Some people ask me like, okay, why didn't you take this one then as an exhaustion gap where it goes from 2 to roughly 5, like this move here? And the answer is that it just has time to reset after earnings. So for your parabolic playbook, you need to um, really dial down on what kind of like resets the parabolic counter for this. And it's typically like intraday consolidate, I mean, daily consolidations like this, these grindy moves at highs, like that resets the overextension criteria. What you really want to see is this speed up right here these next few days. Um, Not only these are like good RSW trades to take into the close, it sets us up for such a plus day on this Friday. And not only that, we have the option of getting these 0 date expirations. So um, we could deep dive into this setup a little bit more. We're definitely not going to have time to go super in depth with everything, but this is really one to study with the 0 dates. There's basically just like two entries that you could take here. This low a day opening range break is really good, and then also this bouncy ball setup into the close or into the afternoon. I mean,
Actually, the 1070 or 1080 high wasn't bad either, actually, because we were so low. Like the volatility on the open was so like
oh
crazy.
yeah,
And this is something I noticed with both SMCI and the Master recently, is that the volatility on the open was pretty fucking nuts.
yeah,
So like it's actually like it's pretty hard to just like slam it pretty hard on the open, but um if you do, it's like pretty nice. In this case, it kind of went up and down like simultaneously. SMCI was down, then up, then down.
Yeah,
So it was a little different. But yeah, the EV was actually pretty good at highs. It was like 0.4, I believe. So
yeah,
that wasn't even bad. I was in that and I just didn't hold it. I was just doing like a normal day trade on that. And then later on, like once we realized what was happening, then, on that second, the break there that you circled, that second circle, that's where I just longed to strangle. I think I longed to strangle, but mine had a little bit of time on it.
yeah,
And you just longed the 0 day puts, right?
yeah. I mean, I just did risk free basically, or like not risk free. I mean, risking as much as I could lose on it. So like if I'm
Yeah, yeah,
paying
yeah.
5K premium, I expect that to go to zero. Like I'm not gonna sell it. If that
Yeah,
makes
so
sense.
we literally had the same idea, just a little bit different. The reason I bought time on mine was because of the prevailing trend. I thought that maybe this shit could get fucking crazy and maybe like it
Yeah,
could squeeze higher somehow. So I just wanted to like make sure I was right no matter what.
yeah.
So
I
with
mean,
the size I was putting on.
I really think there's just like so many ways to trade that. Like there's just so much edge in this setup that it like must be a must watch, you know? This type of
Yeah,
squeeze.
this was like the best trade for sure.
Yeah. I definitely just
There's
think
one
the
trade there's one trade that I think you could argue, and we'll get to that later, but it doesn't come from like a it doesn't come necessarily from just like a how much you can make perspective, because this SMCI is like this is the day where you can like make six figures easily, like anybody
yeah,
could.
yeah,
But this Nvidia that we're going to talk about later around the yen carry trade, that I think is like one of the best trades of the year for sure from a risk standpoint. The risk was pretty fucking low for the returns you got on that trade, so
yeah,
that's something I also want to talk about later.
yeah. That was really big. Am I missing anything for February? Um we also
There
had
was there was Mara at the end of February as
yeah,
well when Bitcoin capitulated.
yeah. I was thinking like MSTR and Mara coin this day here, you mean?
Um, I think we did it on February 28th, but it could be early in March as well. It could be March 4th as well. It was either February 28th or March 4th.
February. Yeah, one of these here, right?
Yeah, it was February 28th.
Yeah. I thought these were really good too. Just with the Bitcoin breakout, like it was just getting too extended.
Yeah, and this is pure stock selection as well. Mara was definitely the weakest out of all of them, so
Yeah. Damn, look at this exhaustion gap here. We close like RSW, gap up, and then just clear out that 3260. And we have like a big AV spread on the open. On the 27th, this wasn't even bad either.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, this one too, I remember we traded.
The only reason I like the 28th so much is just because of Bitcoin at the time. It's so important to show like everybody in the chat what Bitcoin looked like this day. Like this had the same AV spread as like ARM when it hit 160.
Oh yeah, look at that. That was fucking wild. This was also not a bad breakout in Bitcoin to take here. Like this daily consolidation.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, I remember this, bro. I do remember this. This is crazy. The ATRs from VWAP was 2.2 on Bitcoin.
Yeah, that, I've never seen
Wild.
that before, so I slammed this.
Yeah, no, that was definitely A plus. And then MSTR, I remember taking like a few RSWs. Like this one was good with the Bitcoin breaking out. What else? Yeah, like this run up was good. So I think that was it for February. There was also like a smaller op with some of these smaller names. I remember Nvidia in a quarterly holding report, they uh disclosed stakes in ARM and NNOX, RXRX, and Soon. I really like the Soon trade because that was
Oh
like
yeah,
the
that
biggest holding.
SoundHound AI shit was good.
Yeah.
We crushed that shit.
Yeah. This February, like this was a good breakout. There was like an exhaustion gap here and here. Like those were really good trades as well on the daily. Well, that was March, but this was definitely in play for February. Uh, okay. So for March, we talked about the Bitcoin stuff already. Like all of these were really good. Um, Nvidia. Nvidia was the big one here, March 8th. So after this daily breakout, and especially after SMCI, we're losing some steam in this whole theme, and we're getting like really overblown. Like we had this major breakout here. We had like a slight pullback into earnings, but then this is like another leg that we have. And for a large cap stock, like this is pretty crazy run up for the year. And like this was also the point where like people started to like lick their chops in terms of AI. Like look at our revenue numbers that we get here. We go from 6 billion to 11 billion to 16 to 20 billion. Like people were just freaking out about AI and semiconductors. The earnings growth for Nvidia was crazy. Crazy, crazy. So off earnings, I really like the RSW trade again into the daily break. Um, yeah, definitely into the close here. You would take that overnight for a swing. And the real big play was this exhaustion gap. We also had like this daily breakout here, which wasn't bad on March 1st. But the same thing with SMCI. We're looking for some sort of exhaustion day and daily capitulation. Like our ATR and days are very high the entire run up basically. Like we talked about with SMCI, like this is a day one breakout, so we're not gonna short here, and this is just like slow grind higher. This is like a daily consolidation, so we're not gonna short this either. And like this oscillator is just going down, right? Same thing with this earnings report. Like this is fresh news, so there's no short within this uptrend up until here, where we come out of this daily range, and there's just no reset. You could argue like this day here is a reset, but we still get 1, 2 days of up move and then followed with another gap up. So 3 gap ups in a row after like 100% run up. Like this run up was crazy. We finally get a good exhaustion gap, and we should have studied really hard for the SMCI trade because we also had the zero dates that we could have taken this day. And I like fucked up the zero date so hard. Like I still crushed the equity, but this might have been one of the biggest fumbles that I had so far. I think I got the zero dates here, and I kind of just like took them off over here. I was like, yeah, like I'm up like, or I was down like 70% on them right before this move. For zero dates, you need to like risk the premium. Like if you have a stop loss on the zero dates, to me it makes absolutely no sense because you could get asymmetric moves like this, and if you were just to hold, like you would have made money. Like zero days should be like you risk the entire premium on the options. Like nowadays, I'm pretty much risking the entire premium on stuff and not trading with stop losses on the options because you're just able to like it really depends on the setup like for a breakout obviously, but like this exhaustion gap, like you definitely don't want to sell the options if you're down like 88%, 90%. Like what are you saving $100? It's not worth it. So you just hold them, right? So that I learned that the hard way. But this is a very common exhaustion gap type of setup where it looks like we're trying to fade here. Like honestly, if you're trying buying this breakout after like a few days up, like this is such a bad breakout for you to buy. Like you should never do that, right? So this is a bad breakout trade to buy. We tried to fade a little bit in the morning here, and we couldn't really hold under VWAP. And like you just get a perfect combination of people getting blown out on the short here and emotional people taking the long for this breakout here. And we get like sort of a shift at VWAP. And in my opinion, I think the best short that you could have taken is either scaling into the short when we're like far from VWAP. Like we could go bar by bar this day. And we could like look at the AV spread as well. So like at 0.3 there, we probably would start demo, right?
Yeah, I mean, 0.3 isn't bad. I think it's decent. It totally depends on like the structure of the day. I think that's kind of late in the day to start at 0.3, but it's not terrible.
Yeah. Well, we do get to 0.4, 0.5 into here. So that's really
Yeah,
sort
yeah,
of the
that's
problem.
good. Yeah.
And where I get really big is like when we're not holding under VWAP here. Like right here, we're like bouncing a little bit. When we hold fully under VWAP, I think you could slam this versus like a previous 1 minute or 5 minute bar. Yeah, that's really good.
Oh yeah, I remember this day now.
We never get stopped out on the short there, and we just kind of roll over. I honestly think like these are not even bad dip buys. Like if you're not short, like those are really
I
big
know
dip
that
buys.
Alex took those as longs for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember this day clearly. Yeah.
But yeah, this is basically like a 10% move off the highs. I forgot if we get a second leg. That second leg really didn't consolidate for very long. You can maybe take that. But definitely with the zero dates, like taking it off into like a big speed up, like at 12 there, probably pay yourself into that, you know. But definitely the zero dates on this Friday, definitely good. I think SMCI is better, but definitely an easy layup considering if you studied SMCI. I say that, but I fucked up the zero dates while crushing the SMCI zero dates. So, what else for March? We talked about Bitcoin, Reddit. Reddit was really good. So, in a hot market, hot IPOs like to come to market, and Reddit is one of those names. Now, it's not Bitcoin or AI related, but a lot of people know Reddit. And one thing that we love to do as active traders is trade hot IPOs off the open. And specifically, I think some of my favorite trades is taking the opening print on hot IPOs. Like you could look back at Coin, Tesla, Meta, like any of the really big names that you would know and you would have known if you were to trade the IPOs that day. They always have like these opening prints that are really strong, right? So the IPO was priced from 34 to 31, and the indication for this gap up was 47. So that's a really big imbalance, right? And I think the high indications that day were like 52s. Um, so really strong demand for it. I really think you just buy the opening print this day and just do like a 2 bar trailer whenever it stops going up. And you would just verse like a limit band if it was a small cap, or just a few points here as your max risk. Like I don't think you need to risk like more than 5 points here, and that's like really max risk. But once this kind of fails right into here, like you just get out. But that's a really nice like opening drive IPO trade that you could take. And then after a few days, a lot of people, funny enough, on Reddit and Wall Street Bets were looking to like squeeze this name, right? It was pretty hot at the time. Once they listed options, this squeezed like crazy that day. And like it was just the setup that people were talking about, especially on Twitter, on Reddit. When they listed these options and we kind of got above the highs here, Like this is such a easy RSW trade into this. Like these legs are not bad for a breakout, but especially into the close, like we need to be buying that and swinging overnight. And we get a really nice gap up this day. So you get like, I mean, even in the after hours is pretty nice, but this is a great move. And then the following day, we kind of put in like a doji day. And the next day, gap down. I think we short this day. So this Reddit IPO was pretty clean to trade. I liked it. And then the last thing that I thought was good was the MSTR short report. What day was it? I think it was this day here, 28th February, right here. So Bitcoin is strong, MSTR squeezing. Kurzweil Capital, which is I don't know, I think they just put out short reports. Come in the pre-market and say that they're short MSTR, they think it's overvalued. They have a whole synopsis on why they think it's a short, right? It doesn't really move that much in the pre-market. Like they came out at 9 o'clock, I believe. Um, yeah, it doesn't really do much. We have like this first move down on like really elevated volume, and we kind of align with like the daily chart here. I think it's a really nice short right here. We could have tight risk and take that breakdown. Like you're only risking 3 points, and that was like a pretty simple news trade. And there's just a lot of things that are in your favor. Like you have the higher time frame really extended on the daily. You have Bitcoin weak that day, and you also have a short report. So those are sort of like the easy money trades that you could kind of just take. Um, for April, is there anything in March that you could remember, Demo? I think that's pretty much it.
No, my March was actually not my greatest month. My March was like I took a break for a week in March because I took a loss on that coin. After having like the best month of my life, I had like a pretty subpar month. And
Yeah.
then April, I still traded and it was like pretty average. Like I switched instead of doing back and forth. Back and forth kind of lost its groove towards like April in the summer. That's when I really started trading vol like crazy. Like
Yeah, so
May, June, July, August, I traded vol like crazy. That's all I would do. And yeah, so I really don't have anything to say regarding like intraday setups and equity setups, but I can really talk about the biggest vol setups that are like free fucking money later on.
okay. Good, good. So for April, did we have DJT do some shit? Yeah. I forget exactly what the catalyst was. Trying to remember. Oh, they completed the merger. That's what it was. This used to be DWalk and went to DJT, and there was like no reason for it to be up. Like it was just running on hype. So we had like this RSW day, which I thought you could have maybe swung. Like the next day, it would have traded as DJT. Like this day here was still DWalk, and the next day was DJT. And like I guess like all the liberals like were mad that it was going up, and it's like a shit company, and they make no money, but it was still squeezing. So those people got like squeezed out. So this was like a good overnight trade to take probably. But off the open, yeah, I think like these first moves up, and then especially the next day was really good to short when it was backside. Or I guess we have like a few inside days, right? It doesn't really do much. And then when it breaks through that previous day low, I think those are really good trades that you could take. There's like this bouncy ball setup right into here that you could take. Like there's another one here. This one isn't too bad, but this is just like a really nice backside trade from a stock that, you know, shouldn't be up to begin with. And a lot of people were like frustrated trading this year. They're like, "Oh my god, it has to go down. Why is it worth this much?" You know, like And after that, it just like fades really hard for like months until the election. Yeah, like it just gets absolutely hammered after that. But yeah, that was DJT. We had a GL short report. Now, usually short reports do not do this type of stuff. I guess somebody was either getting liquidated or really just wanted to dump it. But regardless, like we had a short report in the pre-market here on this GL. They said that it's a complete scam, worthless, it's going to zero, and they provide evidence of that. But it's a relatively like larger cap company, I believe. Like, yeah, in the billions. So typically, like you're just gonna see a small news reaction and not much. But this one started to roll over like crazy. I don't know if I would take this second leg here, but I remember we traded this SZETA recently with something similar. Yeah, this was also a short report. But we were talking about this being like a capitulation bounce, right? How this sort of like sped up and we looked to take the turn on this versus the lows. Well, this GL was that times like 10. Like these were putting in massive ATR candles and like this could be really dangerous to scale into, especially on the long side. Well, I wouldn't say that. It's probably more dangerous to short than it is to long technically because your max risk is like capped with a long, but anyways, like this starts to roll over, it limits down, which is crazy for a large cap. Uh, tries to limit down again. I think this is a very good long here versus the lows here. The thing is that we didn't get much of a bounce. Like you typically want to see a big retracement back up, maybe to like the 50% down move here, right? Like into 70s, 30s. Like shouldn't be down this much anyways, right? But it fails to bounce, right? It fails to bounce, and this next leg is such a good short. It's like I try to think of the positioning of people that especially try to buy the dip on this. There's just no relief bounce here, so you could just join this limit down here versus the previous day, and this is like a mini like bouncy ball setup in my opinion. And you just wait for the next capitulation. And especially towards the close, like you really need to be careful because like that could just trend to like really, really down, like farther than you could think. But especially into the afternoon, I really like this short. And since it consolidated here, you need to just wait for the next capitulation. And I believe that's on the next limit up here, where you could just buy at 41 versus the lows here. But it's so like close to the close. Like I don't think it has a lot of time to bounce, but nonetheless, that's a good risk to reward trade. And you could even see that the next few days, like it just kind of recovered. Like it never really should have went down that much. This is honestly probably like a good swing into here, versus the lows maybe even, but it really should like it. This was just a product of somebody getting blown out. Like for a large cap company, like okay, yeah, maybe the management has XYZ problem, but for it to go down like literally 60% in a day, that's a big move. And we look to try to buy that. So that was a good capitulation trade. We also had ARM. I thought this was also a good swing trade. I think I didn't catch this one, but it's something that like Lance and other people at the firm really crushed. But this was a great like technical trade, like to the downside. Like we had the capitulation in SMCI, we had the capitulation in SoundHound and Nvidia, and this arm never really had like an exhaustion gap like the other ones did. Never went to highs. Like you could argue that this is kind of a capitulation here, but it never really made new highs after that when Nvidia and SMCI were. So I thought like this breakdown under 120 here was pretty solid. Oops, let me go back to that actual day there. Yeah, so you get the 120 breakdown here. And like the biggest tell of like a breakdown is volume, guys. Like you could see this volume right off the open compared to these other days. Volume is so important for breakdowns. So that's what made this really good. It's noticing the volume and recognizing that level. And say you didn't capture this leg here, this first one, like there's plenty of spots for you to pop in there. And it never really like has a bouncy ball setup. It's not really as clean for a second leg, but all these pops here are probably pretty good to short for an all day fade. Uh Anything else for April, Demo? I think we're getting into my favorite market, which was AMC and GME.
Yeah, this market was freebies
This
for
was
sure.
so great. This was honestly, this was like towards my breakout month and at SMB, which really sucks. Like I told them to give me more risk, they wouldn't fucking do it. After that, like after June and July, I'm like, you know what, I have to leave. But this was when I like really started to crush shit. GME, like there's multiple trades that you could take, both like short vol probably on that backside day, but especially
Yes, 100%. I shorted vol. That was the freest play I've ever seen trading options.
yeah.
Those options were trading at 900% implied volatility. 900, I'm not kidding, 900%. I've never seen anything like yesterday, GME options were trading at like 180.
Wow.
Like 900, man. Like 900. A 0 day contract would go for like $3,000. Like it's insane.
Wow. But yeah, the reason why this was such a big deal and like such a squeeze this day was Roaring Kitty, the guy that pumped GME back in Thursday, Jesus, back in January in 2021. This was his first tweet back after this whole fiasco, and he just didn't say anything. He just tweeted memes, right? So GameStop kind of just squeezed on that. There was a lot of option like premium that came in, like all these sweeps came in beforehand, which was likely him, and just a ton of equity um, as well. I think the theory that he was selling like covered calls demo, like we talked about, was probably the case after this move here. But nevertheless, I think like this limit up trade slash back through open, like joining the limit up here at 2680 was probably very good versus the lows, and also like this capitulation trade. But the most A plus setup for me was taking this into the close here with calls and equity. I think the calls less so. Like I didn't get too many of the calls, but definitely with equity, we had like this really strong close into the after hours here. You need to take this versus 2 day VWAP. You like almost need to. Like this is such a clean RSW setup where people kind of shorted this heavily. It consolidates and then we creep back up into the after hours. There is not a single person short that wants to stay short this overnight. And it's not a coincidence that we squeeze fucking hard as fuck into the next day. I think this is probably my biggest trade to date, along with AMC. I think AMC you could have got as well that day. So a combination of those two um, was probably good. I thought AMC definitely had more. Holy shit! Is this now? What is AMC trading at right now? Wow, this really got fucking destroyed. But yeah, this AMC trade was actually even stronger. Like this closed stronger than GameStop, and this also didn't run up as much as GameStop did, as well. The previous days, I mean. And yeah, this closed way stronger. So you take calls, you take equity. you play this gap up the next day against 2-day VWAP, there's a very high chance that this squeezes the next day.
Yeah, that was free money, 100%.
And then
And I was long.
what was that?
I was long GameStop shares. I never bought long options. But when we opened up the next day after we opened up, you see how price went to like way up and way down. This is GameStop. It went to 75 and then all the way down and like back in the 40s. At that point, when the market opens, I checked the IV and it was 900, bro. Like I shorted so many options
Yeah.
like on that dude. Like it's fucking insane. Like shorting options at 900% IV. Like the stock can stay volatile. It doesn't even matter. Like it just gets crushed within like an hour.
Yeah.
Not even like 30 minutes. It goes from 900 to like 400.
I mean, that's kind
Like
of
that
why,
was the
like,
freest trade.
yeah, like I was kind of betting on like a gap up with vol expansion. That's why I took some of these options and I just sell it at such a big premium off the open, But this
And
short
that's kind of
trade,
like selling the options right at the open is the best move no matter what. And this is like a psychology thing too. I mean, they're so expensive at the open because everyone knows they're gonna like straight up just gamble and buy them.
yeah,
Like they're not checking the price, they don't care. They're just like blindly buying them. And I think the same thing happened with Nvidia earnings in the middle of the summer. I made the market on that and that was extremely profitable for me.
yeah,
I don't have to go into specifics about the position because it's pretty complex. I had like 13 legs, but the idea there is that I was pretty much short a decent amount of vol, and I had reinsurance on the outside just in case there was like a crazy move. And vols went from like 100 back down to like 45 or like 38 or some shit. Like they actually got destroyed. Um, and that was a really good example of people will just buy any option. Like Nvidia was pretty hyped up in the summer, and that earnings specifically, the IV was like 30% higher than any other earnings. So that was like an A+ trade for me. I don't know why like people don't even check the price of it. They'll just buy. Like they want to gamble, they'll gamble and they'll buy the options. So same thing with this GameStop. 900 is actually insane. Like I've never seen anything like that.
when was
And I don't
that?
think I ever will again.
Was that like somewhere into here, like over the summer, like
It was
August 28th,
yeah, it might have been no. It was before August. It was the all-time high earnings before then, I
May?
believe. Oh wait,
I
no,
think
it
it was
had to have been
August.
August. Yeah, it was August. It was August.
Yeah, I think I took that trade with you. I thought, yeah, that was pretty
Yeah,
good.
maybe. Was it May?
I
Maybe it
think
was
I
May.
think it was August for sure. Because
Yeah,
you
it
would have
must have
lost
been.
on this May one. Like you wouldn't have sold that.
Wait, what was the gap between? Yeah, I think Nvidia went down um when I made the market on it. But I mean, the IV was so crazy that it didn't even matter if the underlying stock went like $30. Like the IV was so overstated that you could just make money for free. Like it was
Yeah,
actually insane. That was like the biggest A+ op ever. And I had reinsurance just in case, it did go $30. But I remember the actual earnings print was way lower than implied. The implied vol like was saying it should move like 20%, but it only moved like 6% or 5. So it was
yeah,
just free money.
yeah. And then with GameStop, like I thought like this short trade was good too. Like this is just like dead money at this point. And Roaring Kitty comes out with his position that he's up like that he has like a $200 million position. Like we didn't know that Roaring Kitty had a position even. And people were like fucking like it was crazy. Like how the hell did he get 200 million? Like we know that he made like 50 million or something like that. Um in the other thing, in the other squeeze back in 2021, but like how the hell did he just make so much money after that? But yeah, I think that was pretty obvious short. There's no reason for like that gap up. and it's kind of just middle of the range, just gapping up 100%. So probably the first limit down off open is good. And then later into the month, we had this squeeze too, where people were speculating um, that he was going to live stream, I believe. And I thought like this, yeah, this was the live stream stuff right here. He like posted a video that he was going to like upload. So we got like a nice secondary squeeze here, and like this is a good overnight to take here also. But with such a big squeeze in the pre-market, like, and you got to wake up early, like in the morning. Once it, I don't remember them having earnings this day. Let me check my notes.
Yeah, this was the day I remember. They announced in their earnings report that they were going to do an offering of shares.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I
so
think
it
I
crushed
lost,
along.
yeah, I lost a little bit on that RSW, but I sold like a lot. And like I was taking profits in this up move, but this was a great
I didn't lose
opportunity.
any money. My average was really low when I took this trade, but I was like kind of sad because I didn't wake up in time to sell it in the 60s or 70s. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I believe fucking when did GameStop have it had to be that day that Roaring Kitty went on live stream and
yes, it got crushed.
he stood there like just an idiot, bro. Like he didn't say anything. He just stood. Let me see if I can find it, bro. Like that was like
It
the
was that
dumbest
day.
live
It was
stream.
that day. The day he did the live stream, I swear it was 70 in the pre-market and went down to like 28 in the same day. Yeah, this was the day right here, bro. This was the day.
Bro, buddy like just stood there. Yeah, this is it here. Like he could have I don't know. He could have said something. He just stood there like an idiot, all broken. Like honestly kind of funny. Like you can't even be mad at this
I don't know.
guy.
It's kind of tough. Like, what can he really say? Like, the whole
Break
world
his
was watching him. I
thesis.
remember it was on every news channel, dude. Like, if he said something stupid, like he'd be fucked.
Yeah.
Like,
I guess he could have just stood there like an idiot, but I don't know. It was definitely a
that
funny
thumbnail is
animation.
funny as fuck, dude. On that video,
Yeah,
he's such a clown, bro. I can't believe he's so rich.
yeah. Honestly, at that point, you can do stuff like that, but I would assume volatility got like absolutely crushed this day too. So there's probably an op there. What else we got? Oh, how
You
can
know
I?
what? That might have been the day. That might have been the day that I shorted gammas. I honestly don't remember the exact date. It's kind of a blur for me. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, you could check historical volatility, but most of the HV charts, HV versus RV charts, will only do like a 1 day sample, so you can't see the peak
Yeah,
HV. Like I swear, like volatility went from like 900 down to like 400 in the same day, or like 300. It was insane, dude. Like I've never seen anything like that.
yeah, that's crazy. I also think it's kind of funny that they raised like debt, like GameStop raises debt every time like it squeezes. Like they just put an offering so they could stay in business. Like they're literally going bankrupt and their market cap is
I mean,
so
at the end
high.
of the day, GameStop's a business. Like they could give less of a fuck if their stock does well. Like they don't
Right,
profit at all from it.
right. So,
But I mean, actually, them raising them doing offerings every single time is pretty much like that's the best chance they have of squeezing. Like at the end of the day, like if they do keep doing that, like maybe they could turn things around somehow. I don't know.
yeah,
I really don't.
yeah. I mean, that was their plan there. But that's pretty funny. They just dumped onto retail there. What else? How can I miss FFIE? So with this whole GameStop fiasco, all the stuff that had high short interest started to squeeze like a motherfucker. This company went from cents, like this was split adjusted, but I remember it being a few cents. This went up like 7,000% in like 4 days. I think it had like 99% short float, um, small float to begin with. I don't know what they do. Maybe it was like AI. I don't remember. Trying to find my notes. FFIE. Oh, and also they had no dilution risk because they had delinquent 10Q, which is like the fucking stupidest like coincidence that could have possibly happened. Like it's such a shit company. They didn't file their earnings on time, so they can't even offer shares. So it just squeezed. Like that is just actually crazy to me that it's such a bad company. They couldn't even offer. They couldn't offer their tons of shares that they could have sold to the market, right? So it squeezes. The ranges go from 10, 20, 20 to 60, and then we get this exhaustion gap. And that was just AA plus. When we talk about parabolic shorts, it always has to do with the ranges, right? We go, like I said, doubling the range every single day. I think at the time it went from like 27 cents to 60 cents to $1. Yeah, and that's just because of the GME move. People were scared. And based on what we covered, right? Um, with Nvidia and just like the reviews and stuff, pattern recognition is so fucking important. This exhaustion gap was nearly similar to Nvidia, where this is like a shitty breakout. Like if you're buying a breakout here after it going 5,000% up, like you deserve to lose your money here. Like I hope you lose your money if you buy this right here at 122. Same thing with Nvidia. It's just like such a bad intraday consolidation. Anyways, emotional people get long here, shorts get blown out, and it fails at VWAP. Like I would be too scared to scale like a short here, far from VWAP. But the trade that we talked about when it failed at VWAP here is where you short the fuck out of it, and that's your exhaustion gap play here. So you could like risk the previous 5 minute bar, which I mean it is kind of wide, but you get a 70% down move, and also a nice leg into the close. So definitely A plus in my book. There's probably some longs here that you could take maybe. I don't know, maybe take like this RSW. I'd be too scared that somehow they would find a way to dilute. So I don't know. I would probably not take it overnight. Yeah, maybe take this first day one, but I don't know. I didn't see this shit. I was focused on GameStop, but yeah, studying Nvidia should have prepared you well for this one. This is just a low float version of that setup. But that's why I try to game plan these, right? As much as I can. Like, what would a capitulation off the open look like? If it squeezed this like off the open, like where am I gonna short it? If it has a failed breakout like this, am I gonna short it under VWAP? Am I gonna try to do second legs? Am I gonna short a little bit on the opening print? Like I try to game plan these exhaustion days as much as I can. And that sets you up for such a big winner here. Oh god, it's already 540. Jesus Christ. For May, was there anything else that was good?
We could always stop the review and do it again on Monday and finish up the other half of the year because we're about halfway through the year.
Yeah, we're at June now, so let's finish up the rest. But I mean, let's watch back this recording. I mean, there's tons of stuff that we talked about here that we should study. Um, and even the second half of the year is almost just as good in terms of opportunity. So we will cover that next meeting, I think.
Yeah, let's do June through present day
Yeah,
next Monday.
sounds good. Do you guys have any questions with that? I mean, we covered a ton of stuff here. Maybe watch back this recording and write down your notes. Like we'll answer it in the chat. But there's a ton of stuff to go through. We had pretty good turnout. A lot of people left because we ran so late. Yeah, Ski, I would study these bouncy ball setups that I talked about earlier in the year. Because you only saw like maybe the most recent ones. Those other ones like SMCI were like really fucking good. Like the DJT. Like you should study those. That second leg. Like those are the ones that I want you to catch. Like when something is super, super in play. You'll make a lot of money on this here. Yeah, I just have to go through it. It's a lot of stuff to go through. Let me see. Do I have it maybe in my DRC? I could just get it really quick, like on the ARM. The problem with these recordings is that there's so much sensitive shit in here. I have the tape here. But I have like people's P&Ls up here. I don't know what me and Demo's saying this. There could be a lot of like sensitive stuff like passwords on my screen. Like I just have to rewatch it and make sure there's nothing there that could compromise me or somebody else. Yeah, that's probably what I'll do, but it takes a lot of time. Like I just clip them. All right, cool. I'll end the stream here. I hope you guys have